Jake, call the roll, please.
Roll call. Craig Kenworthy,
Yep.
Brian Wiseman. Here. Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Duretz,
Here.
Tony Dunning.
Here.
All righty. Everybody's here. We have a quorum, so we can go to work. All right, the first thing on our agenda is we have two sets of minutes in front of us that were provided to us. I believe one, as my colleague here, Carl, reminded me, was we have an amended set from the December meeting. I'll entertain a motion to accept those amended minutes for December. I think there was something. Tony was
Nope,
concerned.
I think that
I
was
I
it.
believe we
Did we accept them as?
accepted them in the last one. I believe this just may be a copy unless we
Okay,
have to.
all right, very good.
Unless we have to do another motion to accept.
No, if
this.
we accept them as amended,
Okay.
they are good to me. So, all right, we'll go to January. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes? Come on, everybody.
I motion that we accept January's minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Do we have any issues, qualms, things people would like to talk about? Okay, at that point, Jake?
Craig Kenworthy,
Yes?
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Duretz,
Yes.
Tony Dunning.
Yes.
All right, accepted. Okay, we come to our attorney.
Jake and I, yesterday, opened the farm cash lease bids, and we've gone through them. And I have a presentation for you this evening, and if you're prepared to do so, we could award the bids tonight. I'm going to take it per property and start with the Pleasant Township property. I'm going to pass down a cover sheet that tabulates all of the bids, and attached to that are the bids themselves.
Do another one?
You should have enough there.
We're short.
I'll share with Tony.
I was gonna say, I'll share, but
You guys are all sharing. Sharing is caring.
here we go.
Pleasant Township property, we received 5 bids. That should be attached to the tabulation sheet. Rhoda Farms was the high dollar bidder at $332 per acre. They threw in a nuance to this that isn't really relevant on this bid because they were the high bidder. But they added to their bid, first of all, a yield bonus. They do that every year. It's very difficult to figure out where that would end up, but they are prepared to pay if they get a yield above what they indicated in their bid. They're to use the formula that's in there. Most years, we do end up getting some more on that, but I'm not comfortable recommending that you use that in awarding bid, because we don't know what that's gonna be. But they're the high dollar bidder on the Pleasant property anyway, so that's irrelevant.
So you can't go wrong with the bonus. It's
Right.
already the high bidder.
Right.
You can only do better.
Right. The other thing they've done, which is different this year, is they've said if you give them 2 of the 3 properties, they will add $20 an acre to each of their bids. If they were to get all 3 of the property bids, they're prepared to add $30 to each of the 3 bids. If you do either of those 2 things, they become the high bidder. And we'll pass out the next, the Liberty Township property is the next one. And Rhoda comes in, Tom Murphy is the high bidder at $300 an acre for Liberty Township. Rhoda is $281 an acre. You can see that if you were to give them the Pleasant Township one, where they were high bidder anyway, and give them the Liberty Township bid, then they would gain $20 on their bid, and it would be $301. The Pine Township property is the third property. And here's the packet for Pine Township.
Hey, Dave, does each property have the yield bonus as well on top?
No, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, for Rhoda. Yes, each of them have the yield.
For all of them?
In the Pine Township one, Rhoda is actually third. Tom Murphy again is the highest at 240. They're at 216. But if you add $30 by giving them all three, they jump up into first place, dollar-wise. They come in at 246. Otis Valley Farms, their bid on the Pine Township property adds, he says, quoting the bid, in the range of 10% increase in the price of commodities, I'm sorry, they will give a 10% increase to the bid if commodity prices go up more than 20%. Now, again, there's no way I can calculate
It's all
that.
speculation.
That's in the bid, so I thought I should give it to you. So, your options are Pleasant Township to Rhoda, which they get anyway without all their other calculations, at 332. Liberty, where they are second to Tom Murphy. Tom Murphy comes in at 300, they're at 281. But if you give them Liberty Township and Pleasant Township, they jump into first place with Liberty at 301. And then Pine, they are third. But if you award all three to them, adding 30 to each bid, and that would be adding 30 to their first place bid in Pleasant Township. But if you add 30 to their third place finish in Pine Township, they again jump into first place. And if you're not confused by now, I apologize.
You tried, Dave.
David, is there anything that prevents us from considering that additional bonus?
20 and 30?
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
do we have to look at these individually
Yeah,
by law or anything?
Yeah,
or-
no. As to the yield bonus, I don't even think you should consider that.
Right,
Because
no, I
I
would
don't know
agree.
how you can. That's part of their bid. If you were to give them two, their bid goes up $20 for each of the two that they get. If you give them all three, their bid says, we'll increase our bid by $30 on each property. And no, there's not, that's part of their bid strategy. And, you know, we've always, with some degree of success, not enough, obviously, because they still turn in convoluted formulas. But we tried to make this as straightforward and as simple as we could.
And to stick with the farm analogy, is there any problem with us putting all of our eggs in one basket?
In terms of one farmer, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I know.
I mean, they've worked with us in the past
They
years that
have.
I've been here
Well,
for sure,
and
so.
in full disclosure, Bob Rhoda died. This bid is from his wife and his son.
Okay.
Are they here? Okay. I didn't misstate anything, did I? And I was disappointed to hear that Bob had died.
Sorry,
I'm
very
sure
sorry for your
you're
loss.
even more disappointed. Have I accurately discussed what your bid is?
Yes.
So you certainly can accept that. I guess if you were, well, the one way to not accept it at all is to say you were only the high bid on one property and we'll give you the high one. But to the extent that you award them a second one, that would kick in the $20 and make them the highest on both. And if you give them all three, that would kick in the 30, which elevates them to the highest bidder, which is who we should give it to on all three properties.
I'm guessing we've never had this sort of offer or arrangement
I
before.
can't, you know, certainly the yield
Yield
has
we've
been
had.
in there for many years.
We have last of it.
I don't remember whether you did this before, you did?
It was the same thing last, we just changed on this. I don't recall that.
Should I make a motion just for discussion?
Sure.
I'd make a motion to accept the Rhoda Farms on all three parcels. And that's just a motion for the purpose of getting into discussion.
We have a second?
A second.
Okay.
There you go.
We have a
There you go.
second. We have 2 seconds. Pick the one you want. Okay, Tony made this under discussion, so let's talk, if anybody needs to talk through this. And
Pretty straightforward, honestly. And, you know, I asked that question last year about, you know, discounts to all three, if we went to one farm or all three places, and it just seems to make sense to me that we deal with one entity if at all possible. And, you know,
Yeah, somebody said,
they've
Rhoda
been good to
Farms
us.
has been
Yeah.
with us for many years
Yes.
and we've never had any problem.
Right,
If our aim is to maximize the potential of that land
yes,
for the parks, then that makes sense.
and that does it. Yes? No?
any other?
I'm just glad we're getting them out early this year as opposed to some years in the past where we're almost into planting season before we're making these decisions. So I know it's hard to estimate seed and fertilizer and diesel, especially at today's prices. The sooner you can get those numbers, the sooner the better it is for them, so.
You have any reservations, Kurt?
Well, our job is to maximize the profit for the park. And that, my only reservation, and this has always been kind of a thing when we do advertise this. We advertise it as a farm bid, and I don't think we've ever put in within our advertisement that if you want to, I don't know how it would even look to say if you want to escalate your bid per parcel you get, that's an option you could take. I don't think we've ever.
I think
and
we're
I-
chasing our tails if we do
Well,
that.
but I don't know. I don't know where that goes at, but that's my only thing that clicks in the back of my head to say, was everybody aware that this could have been an option? Which
Well, other farms did make other conditional
Right.
aspects to their bids as well.
I know, but I'm just saying is how do we,
Yeah.
maybe next year as we go forward,
It also,
we
the
we
one
look at
thing.
a different way to possibly do this, but
One thing I saw about the commodities is, I understand, and I like that option. I personally don't have enough expertise to know which way it's gonna go, or which commodity we're talking about. Are we talking about corn, are we talking about wheat, are we talking about beans? Which one, for which property? I think that can get
Yeah.
into a real convoluted.
it does. And
Yes.
I just wonder if there's a way that we someday down the line could clean this up a little, as what we require within our bids or what we will accept within our bids. That's where I'm going with this.
Something we
That's
should
my
work on.
concern. As someone who's bid work and done things like that, you know, everybody on the same playing field, everybody going down the same road. So maybe next year when we look into this, as we look into it, we say, okay, you can escalate per property, you can have the option to escalate per commodity. You know, if you want to add that into your bid, great. If you don't, fine. So that's my only concern on this whole thing,
It's
so,
something we should definitely be working on,
yeah, that's just a thought,
to standardize.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we're trying to standardize, so it'd be another place we have work to do, so. Okay, That's my 2 cents, and if anybody else has any more to add, please. If not, Jake, this is to accept all 3 of them. Okay, in one package.
Craig Kenworthy,
Yes,
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durance,
Yes.
Tony Donning.
Yes.
Okay, I will function accordingly, get a hold of the bidders, let them know your decision, and get the Rodas, our contract for farm on all 3 properties. And again, I was sad to the Rodas
Take these.
As far as I know, that's the end of my report. I confused you.
No confusion.
You made it simple.
On those,
Yeah. Voters made sense.
all right. Okay, farm lease, all right. Jake, I know we got a lot to go on here.
Yeah.
So I think, I hate to circumvent this on you, but has everybody read the staff report? Does anybody have any questions about the staff report? I'm sorry to do this to you.
No, yeah,
We've got a lot
there's coming up, yeah.
This is brief and
understand.
fast. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but if you want to hit a couple, 3 highlights, that's great, but we have a lot to get through tonight.
Yeah, I suppose just a couple of the big highlights. The big one is we're pursuing Lake Michigan Coastal Program grant to help fund educational outreach, and programming initiatives. We've applied for $36,350 for funding for them to help us out. And then the next big one was how fast camp filled up. In 90 minutes, all 8 weeks, all 80 slots were full. And then
Well done.
Becky has been working hard with the Valpo Baptist Church and getting that joint programming up and off the ground, working through that. I think that'll probably be the big highlights for the staff report.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Jake concerning the staff report?
Thank you.
Hey, Tony? Well, let's get into the meat and the bones of this thing tonight. I think this is gonna be,
Yeah, so I guess do you guys want to start with the policies, or do you want to go over the budget and position restructuring
let's do
first?
policy for
Policy,
500.
All righty.
Ding, 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 ding.
Let me get these all broke out here. So the policies I'm looking to implement for the department are a progressive discipline policy and procedure to deal with, misconduct or any faulty performance or anything that requires disciplinary action, to have a set step procedure for how that is handled and addressed internally in the department. So, rundown on that, step 1 would be a counseling and a verbal warning, or kind of a verbal counseling session that would be documented. Step 2 is a written warning on that, documented as well. Step 3 would be a final written reprimand and a possible suspension depending upon the severity of what happened. And then with step 3, part of that would also be the performance improvement plan as well, which somebody would be put on, which would monitor their performance for 180 days to get their performance or whatever disciplinary thing is going wrong corrected. And then step 4 would be a recommendation for termination, which is then when I would come to the board with all of that.
Jake,
Yeah.
just to tell you one thing, you don't have to come to the board to fire anybody.
Okay.
It's nice you would communicate that to us, but they are your employees, they're not our employees.
Okay.
So, just like the board can't fire your employees. So, it's the same, just so you know.
Okay. And then there is an appeals process where if they feel like it wasn't fair or if they feel like it was misrepresented, there's an appeals process. And then there's also stipulations for performance conduct issues not part of this, like if it was a direct safety or they did something illegal, obviously that would escalate straight to termination. And then documentation, everything would be documented. I will have a file for all of this to keep on in-house on record. So that is the first one.
Before you go any farther, appeal process. Who do they appeal to and who's in charge of it?
So that would, the appeal process would go one of two directions, to county HR or to the board.
One direction.
One
You're gonna go
direction.
one direction with it.
So the way I would see that happening is, because they're my employees, but at the end of the day, I report to the board. So I feel like the proper circumvention would be the board as an appeal process. Or should it be county HR?
What's typical in other departments? Tony, do you?
County
And
HR?
I don't, and I kind of feel like you're kind of carving out the entire discipline process away from the county handbook,
Gotcha.
which everybody is required to sign. So that said, there's nothing to prevent other departments from having their own handbook. But, that kind of puts the HR in a difficult position of being a referee for a policy that they did not propose,
Gotcha.
If we use the board as an appeal process rather than HR. with
If
the
we
county.
use HR rather than the board. Because I think HR certainly should have a role here,
Mm-hmm.
however, they can't enforce your
Can't do
policy.
it. Gotcha.
That's the way I look at it.
Dave?
And I'm sorry, you're having two appeal routes?
That was what I was kind of trying to determine here, is if an employee were to appeal a disciplinary action I enacted, who would that appeal go to?
And who's imposed the discipline? You?
Yeah.
I think it should come to this body.
It should probably go to budget personnel.
Yep.
Budget Personnel Committee?
And if you want to put a committee of this body in between there,
Right, yeah.
another layer, that's
budget
fine. But it
personnel,
ought to be
yeah.
focused on this department.
Budget
You've got a
personnel.
board that by statute runs this department.
The alternative is striking that portion of the policy altogether.
I mean, I can do that if that,
You've made a decision.
Indiana's an at-will state.
I can, yeah,
Have a
that
reason.
might be the easiest way, just to strike that from the policy
Yeah.
altogether.
I like the way you look, and that's not even a reason.
Yeah, because if we struck that altogether, then the employee would then go to HR.
No,
Right.
not necessarily. They could go to HR. That said, they're still
Because they're an
signing.
county employee, if they don't like their boss, they would go to HR. Like if I'm at a steel mill and I don't like my boss, I have to go above him to HR normally.
Now, that's a
Right.
different, I was
That's
talking
union.
discipline. You're talking, I don't like something or somebody.
No, I was saying in disciplinary process. If I don't get along with the employee, that's his problem, not our problem, or HR's problem. If he comes to terminate me or suspend me, and I don't like it, we're either saying it has to go to the board, and then we would make a decision, but they're not our employees as a board, they're county employees. So if we get rid of the appeal process, if the county employee doesn't like something the department head's doing, they would have to go to county HR. That would be my understanding, is that correct?
So he's not charging.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I think when you have a board in charge of a department, all employees do have to follow the county policy unless there's another policy that usurps that for specific things within their actual department. Like, for example, the sheriff has their own policy.
Right.
Their E911 has their own department policy. I believe the Board of Health has their own policy as well. I think HR can certainly be used for mediation type process during that, so that you don't misstep and say something that could land you in some trouble during a disciplinary action. But when you reach the point where you're ready to let somebody go, I think it's one and done.
Then at that
I
point,
don't think, they don't, HR commissioners, they cannot force you to hire back an employee that you've chosen to let go.
And you would
And they
have
could lean on
followed,
ya.
you would have followed a procedure the whole
Right.
way, unless it was something criminal.
Yeah, unless it is something legal, then they have nothing to stand on
That speaks
anyways.
for
Well,
itself,
then
so-
we're just
We're just cutting, yeah.
we're just taking his hands off. So I say we strike,
Just strike.
just strike it from the policy. That's my take.
Because it's not a union,
Right.
it's a completely different, I work at a union shop now too, and it's
That's fine, I was just
Whole
wanting to get the
different ballgame.
clarification.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say strike that
Just strike
portion.
the
Other than
appeal.
that, the rest of it's cool.
Everybody agree with striking that?
I do.
Plan.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so that's that one. Do we want to adopt that one as written?
It's amended, right?
Yeah, as amended, I'm sorry.
So you need to make a motion, yeah?
Let's do that. Let's
I'd
get one at a time.
I'd like to go, so
get
let's
another
do one at a time, then I'll make a motion to go and accept this as amended.
I'll second.
Tony seconded it. I think we've discussed this enough. Jake?
Craig Kinwood,
Yes.
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durantz,
Yes.
Tony Dunning.
Yes.
Next.
So the next one I'll bring up is probably the second, or the next longest, is the uniform and PPE policy. So the goal of this one is just to add a standardization look to our department, which will get us away from the more, what I feel is a too laxed, too casual dress code, especially when we're in the office, when we're trying to be, the face of the department, and then out in public as well. So it would switch us to a more business casual type setup, especially in the office, where we're wearing branded gear, and more professional attire. And it's still pretty loose for an attire policy. It's not true business casual. You can still wear jeans. You can still wear, like if you're going to be on the field, you can wear something that's going to do both. But we're going to get away from having too loose a restraint on the uniform. Like I said, more branded wear, more professionalism, and just all around more consistency in that. And then as well as the PPE policy, which is the bulk of this document. For safety wear, safety policy, responsibilities and things like that, as well as what we will be providing to the employees that we will require them to wear when they're out in the field doing work. And then there's a specific section on high visibility in here as well. We do a lot of work around the public, around traffic, higher risk zones, isolated areas, and it's important that we have all the safety procedures, safety policies, and materials in places, and that people can see us when we're on the mowers, so we don't sneak up on somebody. Or if we're directing traffic, they need to be able to identify the park employees that are out there.
I love the idea of the common brand that our employees would be wearing, just for marketing's sake for the park department. Are we providing all that for our employees?
Yeah, we are going to be working on building a uniform catalog where we will have selected items that they can request and then we will purchase for.
Get X number of items a year or
Yep.
whatever that.
Yeah, my ultimate goal is to eventually get us to where we have a uniform allowance per employee per year. That's probably a little more ways down the line because that's going to require a little more budgetary augmentation with it. But we will be buying all the standard stuff, the t-shirts, the hoodies, and then the safety wear.
Are you using a local?
Yeah, we're working with Blythe's right now on setting up an internal catalog on their website to see what it's going to look like.
Would the board be able to purchase stuff directly?
Yeah, yep, we can give the link to it and then we should be able to have a buy now button on it.
High vis vests. So when we sit up here, they can see us.
I'll just wear my
I got my eyes on a hoodie, I know I do.
Okay, Jake, I got one question.
Yeah.
This may morph into more. Okay, we have certain, I'm gonna pick on Becky. She goes out and does running classes and things of that nature during the day, and I'm sure she does.
Yep.
So she'd be wearing something other than business casual, I'm assuming sweats, shorts.
Yeah, we
It's
will,
not written down here.
yeah, there'll
We're making
be,
policy.
we will have to have some leeway for things like that, like if you've got to go out in the field, we will have case by case for things like that.
You just wrote a policy without that in it.
Okay. So I need to add that to it?
You need to figure out a way to,
Yeah.
how you explain that, I don't know, but
Okay,
when we have
word it.
people, when it, I guess, it relates to, their clothing relates to their duties of that day, then they will be allowed to wear such clothing within
I can
the
add,
department.
yeah, I can add
So
that line
I don't
there.
think we've got a locker room for her to go change in.
No, yeah, we don't have,
Oh,
no.
I'm just kidding. So, I think we just need to make sure, I mean, when you write a policy, that's pretty black and white. And if you're gonna get real black and white, you gotta make sure you're right, so.
Jake, how would you feel about adding, and I know I'm probably gonna get some groans on this one, jeans and jean shorts that they cannot have rips or like wear, you know, that.
Rips or tears?
Rips and tears, you know, that fashion. I
Yeah.
tell you what, I have a pair and I wear them, and I am constantly getting like grabbed by cupboards and stuff like that as I walk by. I mean, and to me, I feel like kind of dangerous when you're working in a certain situation. So the weathered look.
Okay.
I would like to just confirm that jeans are fine, but not the weathered ones. They have to be intact. But I don't want to be nitpicky, so if people want to shoot me down on that one, I'm.
Well,
Yeah. I
jeans
don't-
with holes in them are not safe. I mean, if we're gonna go down that direction, and they're not professional.
Well, and that's my.
We want to head down that second part of that, so I think you have a valid point.
Despite the fact they're just stupid.
I love them, but I mean, but again,
It's a legal term.
We,
Pay good money for those holes.
I did.
they spent an hour and a half at a school board meeting talking about ripped
It seems
jeans.
like the more expensive the gene, the bigger the hole. That doesn't make any sense.
No, sir, it doesn't.
It's the curmudgeon.
Remember when ripped jeans meant you were poor.
Yeah, that was the curmudgeon in us.
Now it means you got lots of money. My, how things change.
Yeah.
Okay, Jake,
Do you want me to add in the line about, like conditional wear, like if we're gonna be in I can find a way to word that, to put that in
I
there.
think so.
Safety, really.
Yeah.
And then I can add one about the
Professionals.
ripped
Makes
jeans.
sense to have on earphones and big old.
What if someone's out working, they rip a big hole in their jeans? Well, that's life. And we move on. If they show up like that, that's another story. So, because we have people who are gonna rip holes in their jeans working, whether we like, you know. All right,
Well, I moved to propose that we accept this as well with the amendments that we spoke of.
A second?
further discussion? Jake, you're up again.
Craig Kenworthy,
I'm always first. Yes.
Brian Weisney,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durance,
Yes.
Tony Dunning.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought about changing up the order of the names just to
I'm just
mix it
kidding.
up a little bit. I think about it every time.
No,
After the
for
fact.
years, they change it every time we went around. All right, we got through that. Policy.
Yeah, then the next one is the performance management policy and procedures. This one is, really the whole point of this one is just to give and set tangible, smart goals for every employee to pursue. That'll be the overarching goals for them for the year. And then break that into trackable steps. So I had each full-time employee set 3 SMART goals, just as a general reference for what I want them to focus on, what they want to accomplish. And then part of this would be I would add 2, and then that would give them 5 SMART goals to pursue for the year. And then we would have monthly meetings and quarterly meetings to track that progress, to make sure they're on track, see what help they need, see where they're struggling, what resources we can give them. And as well as to track if just not hitting goals. Like if performance is starting to waver, we can catch it early as opposed to it being at the year end and all of a sudden we haven't hit 3 out of the 5 goals we went for. This kind of gives us a roadmap to track progress and then to be able to help make sure progress stays on point.
Well, we could do this the right way and get a motion to accept this and have a discussion. Or we could do it the other way and just start talking. Does anybody have, I'm gonna say this, goals are good.
Yeah.
I work in a place now that they've forced me to have goals. I don't enjoy it much, but they do make you move.
I think it keeps
Like the
people-
idea or not.
Yeah, I think it keeps people focused and on point.
Yeah, it adds accountability, which is key to anything getting better. So,
I'll make a motion to accept.
we have a motion to accept?
Second.
We have a second. Other than my comments, does anybody have any other like I said, I enjoy this. I think this is a good move in the right direction. I will say this much, give your staff a break with their goals and putting them together because it's new to them.
Yeah, there'll
I
be,
know how difficult that is when it's new to somebody, to try and put together a goal that will actually, sounds like you're doing something as opposed to you're just saying something just to say something.
yep. Yeah, there'll be a lot of learning curve in
Yeah.
figuring this out as we go, because it's all new. This is stuff that hasn't really been here yet before. So there'll be a good learning curve. There'll be a lot of forgiveness and growing along the way for the
Patience.
first while, yeah.
You have to teach them what it means.
Exactly, yeah.
Rome was not built in a day.
Yep.
So, okay, I'm done talking. Anybody else? Okay, Jake? Yes,
Yeah, I was gonna start with you. Craig Kenworthy,
yes.
Brian Wiseman,
Yep.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durance,
Yes?
Tony Dunning.
Yes.
All right. You got one more for us for the policy.
Yeah, the last one. So this one is an office hours policy. This one exists within the counties already, 8:30 to 4:30 hours. The nature of our business doesn't really necessarily line up directly with that. We've got programs, we've got meetings, we've got events. But I do want to make sure that we have designated office hours for our administrative staff. That way there is some consistency to our scheduling, and to ensure that 8:30 to 4:30 is always covered, because we do need to have a presence in that building the whole time the building is open. And this will make sure that that happens, but it'll also make sure that there's still the flexibility that, like when Becky or Tyler have to do programs or a running course or a recreation activity, they still can take care of that and do that. But then still have the office covered to make sure that we do have that full 8:30 to 4:30. And part of that is also goes with our professionalism and accountability as a department too. We need to have a consistent presence in the building. Yeah, I believe that's important for us as we go forward. And so that's the basis for this one. So I'll basically have everybody chunk out 3 hours a day that they think for sure that they could be there. And that'll change on, some weeks that 3 hours will be different. On a Monday, it might be different than on that Thursday. But I'll let the staff figure out what 3 hours work best for them. Other than that'll be their designated office hours for that day, that week.
And during camp, the office hours will be spent at camp.
Yeah, yeah, camp would be,
Come on.
yeah, there were, and that's why we have I do believe I did write irreconcilable meeting program times or events. I did make exceptions for that in the policy. I paid more attention to that one. Because, or when Becky's running, 5Ks or Tyler's running camp, you can't be in the office any of those days. It's not possible. But somebody else can be. That's where this will
You
make sure
want
that
somebody
covers.
in there during office hours.
Yeah.
Does this 3 hours include you?
Yes, yep. Yeah, I'm not exempt from any of these.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Tony, second? You have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion on this? Hours policy? Okay.
Craig Kenworthy?
Yep.
Brian Wiseman?
Yes.
Carl English?
Yes.
Robert Durance?
Yes?
Tony Dunning?
Yes.
Okay.
Jake, can I just jump in here real quick? Are you going to have a acceptance, that you're going to have a letter or a listing of these policies and ask each employee to sign off on them, because they don't mean anything if you haven't provided them?
Yeah, and I'll even have a staff meeting with everybody too, and then we'll go over it in person as a group.
And always keep in mind, this is fluid, only good policy is one that can be modified.
Yeah, and there's gonna be a lot of learning curve, because a lot of this is new, so there'll be a growth curve to it, and they'll have to be understanding with that.
Is the 3 hours in the office a pretty dramatic change from?
No, it's pretty well followed now. It's just kind of giving it a structure behind it. Most people have split office to field time already, and the office is already covered 8:30 to about 5 o'clock every day. So we've already hit what this policy is hoping to accomplish. This just kind of puts it in writing.
right, what's next, Jake? We've got a lot here.
Do you want to do the naming policy, or do you want me to jump into the budgets and positions first?
What's the easy one? Want to do the naming policy first? Yeah, we do the naming policy.
Straightforward.
Okay. Let me do this, Jake? You want to do it, or? how do you want to do it?
I've read through it, but I don't have enough of the details memorized yet. I kind of know what the point of it is.
Okay.
Craig called me the other day saying there had been some, I'm not sure what level of intensity, discussion about naming situations. And in the far reaches of my memory, I remember we looked at this before and actually had put a policy together, although I could never find the documentation that said the board ever adopted it. But what I sent to Craig, and I think he distributed to each of you, that is kind of where we are, and for whatever reason, it got dropped. So whether this is an appropriate starting point to move from, or whether it's irrelevant and you want to start all over again, that's for you to decide. But, and I'm not putting my stamp of approval on this. I mean, I can't even really remember how it was developed. None of us can.
I can't either.
We were obviously thinking about it because in my file, I had a naming policy file with this in it.
And when I asked Dave about it, and he told me about it, I couldn't remember even talking about it in a meeting.
Well, I suspect I probably didn't do it because I had nothing better to do. There probably were some discussions going on either during a meeting or in some other context where I was asked to.
Was there a date on the file by chance in your computer?
Who says it was a computer file?
Well, that's true.
Was it chiseled in stone?
Assuming I had this on my computer. I had it in a drawer.
Point taken.
I got you.
3x5
Yeah,
floppy.
three and a half
You're
floppy.
lucky I did, because if I had it in a computer, I'd never.
It's been since I've been on the board. I think we figured that much out.
Yeah, it's not, I don't recall this.
No, so that's
Three,
the past,
so.
well, this is year 12, so it's somewhere in the past 11 years this was brought up.
Nine,
And
anyway.
And again, it must have been of some consequence, because, I mean, I didn't do this in 10 minutes. I mean,
Yeah, there's some actual thought in this, Dave. Well done.
thank you. Although I don't remember doing it.
You were on.
There's a lot of things in here, and one of the things I do like that's in here is it gives us the ability to discuss with potential donors what their wants and needs are. If I'm a business person, maybe, and we have a pseudo standard of 10-year naming right, we have the option of, on a case-by-case basis, of extending it or possibly even shortening it. So I like the fact there's some variability in there that we can use when we're discussing with our potential donors.
Yeah, because we've put memorial plaques and signage up. We've named buildings since I've been here, and different things, and that's. And if we don't have, and I mean, this is either a starting point, y'all, or we can adopt this and amend it as we. But I want to get started on this. I think we need to get this to a point that if a donor does come to us, please, with a whole lot of money, we can say, yes, we do have a policy, this is what it looks like. This is where we start, and, I mean, putting dollar figures on this, like 50% of a park or whatever, I don't know if that's a necessary thing.
I didn't see anything like that in there. It was more
No.
fluctuation, but
Yeah.
I think it's important that we really need to get going on because we've got people who are wanting to help redo part of our current parks. We've got people who are wanting to donate to develop other lands that we own and everything. And like I say, there'd be a starting point that we can move a little bit here and there as we get into it. But I think in the next several months, when we go talk to our potential donors, which we're going to be doing over the next few months, that we have something to base our discussions on our side. That's just my thought on it.
I know this is the first time we've even spoke of this as a group. You guys want to mull this over and get a little deeper into this? Put your thoughts to it a little harder?
Throwing this out, would this be an appropriate subject for a committee to look at and come back to the board?
Yes, it could be. I mean, it probably would. I mean, and as the committee would put it together, maybe share it out and see,
This be under a current committee or more of a
I don't know, this is a tough one.
committee for donations and so on and so forth?
I would,
I personally don't have an issue with the policy at all. I mean,
as it sits,
as it sits, if I had to ask for something to be added, I would just add it, I would just ask that, like when, when you develop a park or you do something, and you can get like commemorative bricks that people can buy with their family name on it, that's the only thing I would want to be exempted from this.
permission for like a commemorative brick walk or something?
Right, where people can buy commemorative bricks, like for example, if they're donating,
Right.
say under $500, whatever it is, that would not be covered under this policy. We could do something like that, just to.
As long as the brick didn't have, where is that lovely,
It is
sexually suggestive
Yeah,
or obscene to generate people
Right.
base?
3, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that would cover,
Anything under section 5B.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
yeah, section 5B.
5B,
Exactly.
Final bullet.
I mean, and maybe it doesn't, maybe I'm just kind of like,
Well-
but I just thought that, because that's always a good fundraising thing, and I don't want
Absolutely.
to tie our hands.
And I think this would probably cover that as well, so.
Do we want to consider those possible changes and make a final decision next month? Or are you looking to have something formal, a process in place sooner than later?
Well, I don't think haste makes waste. I think maybe what's mulling in my head is the committee and who to do this is what I'm trying to put together in my head. Because I think if we charge a committee with this and if we get this put together by next month, I don't think the next 28 days is going to hurt us when it comes to somebody comes walking in with a lot of money, we're going to go, well, okay, what do you got? And we'll figure this out a little quicker.
Probably
We
you
would have
And
to.
one thing that they could do, because again, no recollection of this, I don't think we went out and sought what other, look, for instance, the Valparaiso Park system has a naming program, but I have no idea what it says and how they go about it.
Yeah, I'm sure Valpo University's got one.
Maybe the committee could be charged with looking at other
I mean,
options.
honestly,
and
probably
alternatives.
land acquisition development.
Wanna do it?
It'd be you and me.
All right.
I'm
Well,
good with that.
All right, why don't we do it under land acquisition and development? Carl and I will get it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, is that okay with
Yeah.
everybody?
I'm with
Good
you.
with that? Okay. All right, Carl, we got something to do next month, or this month.
It's a short one.
Thank God for Google. Okay, so we'll just put that on the back burner. We'll address that next month with the changes and what it looks like compared to everybody else. All right, next.
All right, so the next kind of rash of my proposals is more of the doozy of the one. So I'll do the staffing ones first. I am proposing that we resplit horticulture and maintenance back into two separate positions. It was like that about 10, 11 years ago. We had a full-time maintenance supervisor, they were called a park manager at the time, and a full-time horticulturalist. I want to get back to,
Horticulturist then. I can tell you for a fact, we did not have a full-time horticulturist when we had a park manager.
I thought we did.
No, we didn't get a horticulturist until Matt Brown got put in that spot.
Well, he was here at the same time as Matt Houghton, I think, for about a year. Were they not full-time at the same time, or?
Yeah, you know what, you're right, he was. I'm wrong, but for many, many years, we never had a horticulturist.
It was a created position.
It was a created
Yeah.
position, yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
I apologize.
So what I want to do is split that back into two fields. I want to do resource management horticulturalist as one full-time position and create a maintenance supervisor as a full-time position and split that work responsibility, that workload back apart. And reclassify the horticulturalist from a Pat B to a Pat A, and then create an LTCC labor trades maintenance supervisor.
What does Pat B and A mean?
Pat B and Pat A are the classification based on job responsibilities and duties under the new salary ordinance. The horticulturalist actually regresses the classification because of taking responsibilities away from it, because we no longer have supervisory responsibility over the maintenance program.
PAT stands for Professional Administrative Technological. It's a term of art for
Oh, yeah.
classification.
So that
LTC is
is-
Labor, Trades, and Crafts.
Yeah. We've acquired a significant amount more acreage, we've got more buildings, we've got more equipment, we've decreased in staff, both full-time and part-time, over the last 10 years. So it's just become, it's no longer conducive for these to be the same position, it just can't physically function properly, and I don't think it'll move forward properly with those two still under one roof. I think if the department is going to grow sustainably at any rate, or to be able to address our needs now and in the future, we need to separate those two worlds back out and make that two positions. And in part of that, it would be the existing horticulturalist would separate from maintenance, and the new maintenance supervisor would take over, and then they would have designated fields of operations. And then I do have the job descriptions attached. This is the same company that the county used to make their salary ordinance and their work profile, so it is in line with the county's program. And then I've attached the 144 as well, which kind of shows what the structure for the department would look like and what the additional cost to the county that would be for the salaries of the two.
You know, Jake, you did a copious amount of research on this, and I was quite surprised with some of the things that you found. Our active land increase, where we're under active management, is up 82% in a decade.
Yeah, we've acquired a lot of land, just either under management or land that is actively managed through the crop lease that is part of that as well. But it is just a significant increase in what we have to maintain or oversee as a department.
And at the same time, we've reduced staff by a third.
Yeah, and we've shrunk in staff. There was almost like a history of when somebody would leave, instead of trying to fill the position, they would just consolidate responsibilities. And it probably worked then. It's just, unfortunately, it's not conducive for us to grow or get where we need to go. And if we continue down this path, I think more and more things are going to continue to slip, and they'll just not get addressed the way they should be, and get more and more costly down the line.
I think that might have led to a couple of things that we found in the recent months that
For
kind
sure.
of is maintenance-wise and
Just neglect, you just don't have the staffing to
just don't have
maintain
the
what we
time,
have,
materials,
let
and
alone become what we want to be.
Yeah,
equipment.
it's, I don't think it's feasible to oversee all that with one person. I just don't think it can be done.
So are you, okay, then I have a question. You have your flow chart as the maintenance manager being underneath the horticulturalist? Is that correct?
That is how it is now. That's our existing
Okay.
structure.
This isn't proposed, this is current.
This is current. What's the
Yeah.
proposed one?
The proposed one is splitting the operations manager horticulturalist into two. So that one isn't actually attached. The one behind that is what we used to look like.
Well, that's from 2012.
Yeah, that was the flow chart from
So you
2012.
don't have an example of what it will look like?
I
So
have
I'm not
one.
looking at what you're proposing.
No, that's what we look like now.
Okay.
Right, they're just
Yeah.
adding one additional layer right here.
So maintenance we move to the side.
Yeah, it would
So
essentially,
just
operations
separate.
and horticulture would split, and then maintenance would go under.
Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah, all right. I guess my concern was looking at this was, and working in maintenance, that I would think the maintenance would be over, the guy who's ahead of the maintenance should be over everything, from the roofs to the grass, and that would include the flowers, which is horticulture. So that's my view of it, because that's what my job is I'm the head of maintenance. And
Yeah.
I'm in charge of the people who mow, I'm in charge of people with flowers, because I'm in charge of maintenance. Maintenance is, in my world,
All of it.
the roof, the dirt, and everything in between. So when I look at this, the way it was, I'm thinking, to me, if you're gonna maintain things, well, someone needs to tell Mr. Horticulture, or whoever's doing that, that doesn't look good, you need to take care of that.
Yeah.
And that falls under maintenance, to me. That's
Yeah,
my thought.
And I can certainly see that. I'm basing this chart off the way we did things at the state park level. Because
Okay.
we had the naturalists oversaw the natural resource management, which is essentially horticulture. Other than there were maintenance supervisors that oversaw like the groundscaping. So all the conservation effort, the trail maintenance, the restoration, hazardous tree removal, all the wildlife plantings, things like
Yeah.
that. That would fall under, the way I see the horticulturalist is actually as a natural resource manager. So their world is sort of intertwined. They work together very closely, but they've always been separate from my experience.
And that relationship work well, the state park?
Yeah.
I think for the industry of natural resource management, which is specifically what the Parks Department is, it does make sense to have those two separated. It's not, anyway, everybody, it's a small staff, everybody's gonna work together regardless.
Yeah. Yeah,
And you make a good point, Craig, and I think for your industry, that is more typical. Even here,
Yeah.
facilities is in charge of the buildings, it's in charge of the landscaping, it's in charge of everything. But again,
Yeah.
we're managing buildings and structures, it's not parks.
Yeah, in most fields, those are one thing, but yeah, when it becomes its own sect of an overall operation, it's more conducive when they're split.
Excuse me.
Okay. Explain now, I get it.
Bless you.
And I think you've got an absolute valid, there's such a strong validity here. And as you said last night, that your forest, your trees, they're starting to show the lack of full-time attention.
Yep.
And so I think it costs a whole lot more money to clean it up after the fact than it is
Yeah.
to just maintain it while we have it.
Yeah, and this will stop us from having to contract out as much of our tree work, our restoration work, and things like that, as we go down the line, and we build that to where it needs to be.
And I'm just gonna add to this, if no one minds. We also have Brick Across. It's a unique, different, the plants and things that are growing there are different. The restoration's all, concentrated into a different sort of look at, other than just grass and bushes and things and trees. We have more unique things that we need to deal with other than just, like I said, the tree, growing a tree, yeah.
Plantings, I mean, they're literal cultivation of plants, not just
There are different
mowing
types
grass.
of hostas and different types of, and those are the things that Matt would bring to the table as opposed to, concentrating on regrowing brinco or doing whatever you would have to do out there to those unique plants as opposed to, making sure that everybody's got the lawn mowed.
Well, I hope that this doesn't bring, if we do this, it doesn't bring back the model we were running for a long time where Matt parked himself out at Brink Across and did absolutely nothing else.
Yeah, I'm gonna have,
That is where I come from here. Because
Yeah.
if you tell me he's a horticulturist, he parks himself out, I'm just doing flowers. And you know what? We don't have the manpower, we don't have the people for that. I mean, that's what scares me about this more, or concerns me about this, because I know what the model looked like 8, 9 years ago and what was being done. And I've never been overly thrilled about that.
I
And
feel like some of the changes that Jake has brought to the department with accountability and expectations could help
Oh, I hope so.
to
Because it needs
take
to
care of
be.
that concern.
I think our new work order system where everything is, it pops up right now. It's not like, I'll check on you in a day or two or give you a call and be fed a line, see what's happening.
if I can add too, if they're a bad employee, they're gonna be a bad employee, whether they're in this position or that position. You know, you can't weed that out. So right now, I think the concentration needs to be on what we need. And if, you know, if something's happening that he can't control, then he doesn't deserve to have the park superintendent position. So if he's controlling the staff and he's making sure that everything's doing, you know, is working in a good way, then, you know, by all means, we need to do it so that it's working, and this is not working.
Yeah, if this fails, it's on me, so, but I'll make it work.
I think the research you've done, the data you've compiled tells such a compelling story that if you were to present that to the county council relative to our resources to maintain what we have, let alone build what we aim to do, which is what they would like us to do, it speaks for itself. Although we need you to speak for it.
Yeah. My actual undergrad is in wildlife ecology, so I'm going to be hot and heavy on the natural resource management. It's going to be very near and dear to my chest, so.
And that's, to me, a helpful thing too, just to know that you have, that is your background, so you can clearly define deliverables
Yep.
and benchmarks.
Okay. We need to adopt anything there, do we?
Do we need to approve this stuff?
That's just,
There's actually requests for additionals and stuff.
Oh, we
in
gotta
here,
talk about
and
that, too.
The 144 changes, that's all associated with the transfers.
next, Jake?
The next one, I'll go to the next, I'll just jump to the operating 144. I'm proposing that we adjust and clean up our salary ordinance for hourly employees and get rid of ultimately get rid of the exterior position titles and things like that, because it doesn't get looked at the county level. So I just want to do blanket hourly on both our 1197 and 0803 accounts up to 19 an hour. And that'll just get us in line with a lot of the rest of the county. I mean, facilities is paying $21.50 an hour for groundskeepers. I saw that the other day. I threw a little bit of a fit, but 19, I believe, is a good cap. That gets us competitive with the rest of the county and gives us room to work within our budget to give raises where needed, when needed. Now, I don't want to scare anybody, I'm not just going to start jumping people up to 19 an hour.
Right.
Our budget can't
That's our
handle
cap.
that. Yeah, but that gives us room to be competitive when we need to be. And that's just a cap realignment, so that doesn't require any extra funds.
And just for the board's knowledge, in the auditor's office, they never look at hourly position breakouts. They don't have any oversight or any way to track who's in what position and for what amount. With that, in the hourly program, it's a straight hourly rate, period. There's no corresponding job titles. So there's no, and so having a flat rate is perfectly okay. And easier to manage.
Okay. All right. I don't think we need to adopt anything there, do we? It's,
Yeah, I don't know if that needs a vote.
this is
or-
all going, you've already sent this to the county council?
Yeah, this is what I had to have in
Okay, so
yesterday.
this is gone. Nobody feels there any need to pull this off the agenda from the council? This? You guys all good with it going to the
And I
council?
think he only sent it to the council just because their deadline was yesterday.
Well, I know that, I just,
Yeah,
but
it
we can
hasn't
pull
been
it.
advertised, yeah.
If somebody's
we-
got an issue, we can pull it. That's what I'm,
We have the ability to.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I
If nobody
can-
has an
No
issue, we
issues.
keep moving with this.
Yes.
That's.
Yeah, I'm
not a
perfectly
question.
fine with
Okay,
Moving down the road.
two, off we go again. All right, now, it looks like, Jake, we're either at
Now that we're at
positions description, county of Porter, or additional appropriations?
I think we're at the additions now. We just did the job descriptions and the 144s. So I believe the last thing I had was the,
I'm sorry,
You're sending an request for additional to the county council.
it's right here. We haven't voted
There's
on, we haven't voted on that.
10 additional.
You
oh,
need to
but-
vote on that.
I know, that's what we're on right now.
Oh, okay.
I apologize, I was
sorry,
like, this
I thought-
piece of paper can go,
Yeah,
let's go to
yeah.
here.
Tony and I were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, the 144s are good.
Yeah, we're to here.
Excellent.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, thank you for keeping me in line. You guys do that well. Okay, Jake, start your,
I will, I'll start at the top, it's probably the easiest way. The purpose of this was to get more money into our non-reverting hourly account and to create and fund a capital expenses, capital account through transfers. So there's only one addition that's actually gonna happen in the budget fund. So I'm requesting to move $30,350 from event expenses to other equipment, which will establish our capital account, our capital outlay.
okay. Do we want to break these all up as we go? You want to do these one at a time? Or do I do them all at once?
Is there a reason to do them one at a time?
Well, if we do them all at once, that means we got to vote on them, one big happy package, and they all go. If anybody's got any issues with any of them, then,
Well, you want to see if we have any issues, and then we can separate them out, I think, if we need to?
Yeah,
I reckon we can do that too.
I can just
Because
read through them.
no, that's fine, go ahead. Carry on.
And then $14,500 from event expenses into hourly, and then $2,000 from other supplies into hourly, $500 from consultants to hourly, $500 from livestock supplies to hourly, $7,500 from advertising to hourly, and then $1,925.50 from advertising to FICA. And those are the transfers.
What's on the back?
Those are additions. So then there's an addition, that's what I'm gonna ask the county council for, is $20,000 to go into our hourly. And then $1,530 to go into FICA. And then I'm going to ask out of the general fund, $43,968 to fund the maintenance repair supervisor. And then $16,000, which is actually, it's an addition, but it's actually a grant reimbursement payment that's sitting in the receipt account that was never allocated. So that is our funds, we just have to ask for them to put it into our account. And then that into other equipment in 1179.
So you found
It's
$16,000 of our
Why
money
did you
we
give
hadn't got.
16 grand?
We had, in 2020, they had started a grant through the Lake Michigan Coastal Program,
Okay.
and then the
You remember
reporting.
that?
Yeah, I do actually
Yeah,
know,
it was,
yeah.
we
Yeah.
had to transfer to get that negative out of there, so Walter just got one back with it.
So the reporting was finished in 2022, and then the payment was received.
It's a non-reverting fund, so you really don't have to reappropriate it until you need it. But if you plan on using it, it's fine, but.
Yeah, I figured it was probably best to just get it into that other equipment line item, and then. But that's where that 16,000 comes from. So the true asks are the 20,000, the 1530, and the 43,968. And then everything else is redistribution in the general fund, or in the non-reverting fund.
Just as a reminder, your department number is 803.
Oh, it says 83 everywhere.
10-5.
Excel auto did that, it took all my zeros out.
I saw that too, Jake, I'm sorry. I should have said something. I meant to say something, I apologize.
I'm sure Joy will fix it.
Yeah.
Jake,
Yep.
is there a reason we need $55,000 put into our hourly funds at this date? I mean, we're only 1 month in.
Yeah, so this is to better.
What are we covering?
We've got the funds to cover everything right now. This is so that we can pay camp counselors $12 an hour.
Why, can we wait on this till, because here's my thing. This is, you're moving a lot of money out of our basic savings account early in the year. And I understand the need to pay the camp counselors, but we don't need to pay them for another 4 months. And then we go to the county and ask them for another 20,000? They're gonna say, well, do you have more money in your operation? I think, I struggle with the fact that we're moving money way in advance of when we need to.
Gotcha.
That's my thing with this. I mean, I understand needing the money, but usually we pay our camp counselors as the funds come in from the camps. I mean, that's how we build
Yeah.
these kind of accounts. I mean, this is like our savings account,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. Now, when this comes back, when we do pay the camp counselors, what do you do with that money? Where's it gonna go?
I was just gonna keep it right in that same,
It's, if you don't use it, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a non-reverting fund. It just automatically, it stays in the bank, it stays
I
in
know,
that
we
fund
need, and
regardless.
that's, I know, and that's why I'm kinda, this is our bank, we've been saving and saving and saving, and I understand the need to pay our counselors.
Are you saying just delay moving it
I would,
until you
I
need
would,
to?
yeah, I think we should think about delaying until we need to move it, because we move it all out now, and they're gonna look at our funds and go, you've already got that. I mean, they're trying to close loopholes with insurance, and they're trying to close all these other loopholes, and they see our ability to move this kind of money, and then we go asking for $20,000 additional. I don't think it makes sense at this time, but if everybody else does, I just ponder the idea of, we've never moved money like this in February before.
gotcha.
You
Jake,
know.
I think, if I recall, when we were discussing this, and Brian maybe you remember too, I think one of the reasons why we were appropriating more is to be able to hire fewer camp counselors so that you could increase your numbers and open it up so you have more availability.
Yeah, part of it was
So
to
it's a matter
grow
of having
camp to
that
100
money
kids.
appropriated and ready to go for the purpose. Now, yes, you could come back in the middle of the summer and ask for more, but if you don't use it, it's not going anywhere. It's just gonna, the appropriation's gonna expire at the end of the year. The cash is still gonna be there. So it's almost, rather than putting yourself in front of the council again, you projected out this number for a reason, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
It's not just, you didn't just throw an air ball and hope, but you had done the numbers to figure out how many hours and how many hourly camp counselors you're gonna be and what you need to get you through that camp period. So it's not just appropriate for the sake of appropriating.
Right.
I do remember those were one, because I think the day that we had our meeting was the day that we opened up camp, and it was already done before
Right?
the lights actually got turned on.
yeah, and we've got wait lists that are
Yeah.
20, 30 kids deep.
But also, to Craig's point, the expediency of moving this money right now, is it necessary to do it? As far as the overall plan for that portion, as opposed to
Yeah, we can always hold off
the-
on moving some
the
money
other,
around.
the other
and-
equipment one, like setting up the new fund,
Yeah.
as opposed to all the hours trying to.
I think if we go in there and say, we've got all this, they can look at it and say, how much more do you have? This is
Just
a
don't do it
huge
when we're asking
reappropriation.
for the additionals.
Yeah.
Just
But
just do it another
to
time.
me, to my point, it was this, you can't put out there that you're gonna hire a lot more people unless you have an obligation, or unless you have a permission from the council to appropriate the funds to pay them. To me, I don't feel like you can hire people and have them paying with the promise that you might come back and get an additional appropriation. So to me,
Okay,
if you know what your budget is to cover the cost of adding more people so you can open up and get more numbers into your camp program, you have to be able to pay them, and that should be in place before you spend the money.
so
Before you
the,
make that plan.
I think we might be looking at something different here.
so the back is the additional appropriation, this is $20,000.
Right.
Okay, this is what I'm looking at, Tony, and maybe you've done this a lot longer than I have.
Craig would like to, on the front.
On the front, where we're taking it out of our non-reverting funds, I would like to hold off doing that for a couple months, is what I'm thinking.
Which one is it, Craig? Is it the?
Well, it's the. if
The
you look
other
at
supplies,
Anything
hourly,
that says
the
event
consultants
expenses under
hourly.
it, anything that says event expenses is out of our non-reverting, I know that. The other supplies, I don't know what fund that is.
That's
That's all
all
funding.
non-reverting.
It's all non-reverting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and your reason for that was rather than just doing brand new appropriations, it was finding out where you could look for those previous budget savings where you may
Yeah.
have been over budgeted in certain line items.
Yeah, we'd found a lot of accounts where we could have needed more money to address some needs. And this was to get those more aligned with what we were trying to accomplish.
I don't like spending our nest egg.
And this isn't spending, this is permission to spend if you need it.
Yeah, there's no saying we'll spend this still.
But I think I, for one, was never a fan of people going out and starting to spend money and without having the appropriations there. To me, until you have the appropriations, you don't have permission to spend, you don't have permission to make those plans to obligate our resources. And hiring people to me is an obligation. And, you know, and if you have padded that number substantially, well, then by all means, that should be pulled back. I didn't get the impression that you were padding that number.
No, this is pretty close to what we will need. I could probably get away with removing, which one's going to hourly? The 14.5 that's going to hourly, I can probably cut that number in half.
Well, we could always move it. I mean, this doesn't mean we're not gonna move the money.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. It's just saying the money's gonna stay where it is for now, and then come April, when you get all these people hired, or you finally figure out what is going to go on, then we can easily move the money at that time.
Yeah, and you could,
I mean, we don't have to move this money right now.
some of the
Right.
stuff is
That's
for
what I'm-
ongoing after camp. And I think what we're not also seeing though, we're not seeing the revenue capabilities.
Yep.
You know, so this is only the expenditure portion. There's a whole other part of the formula that is all the revenue that we can grab. But to your point, Craig, if you're uncomfortable with it, if you feel comfortable and you can cut this number in half, then I think you should, as long as you can absolutely pay every last one of those camp counselors with the appropriation that you have on the books before camp even starts.
That's my biggest concern. I need to start hiring now. Like, we waited way too long last year, so I want to make sure that I can advertise $12 and that I can hire
Oh,
these people.
I don't think that's a problem, Tyler.
Okay.
I mean, that's not my issue.
Okay,
I mean, we're not paying them right now either.
exactly. But I
My,
didn't
my
want
issue is
to
having the
like-
money when you do, that day they come in and they request their pay, that money will be there.
Yeah, I just didn't want to like blindside anybody
No.
by already putting that salary out
Yeah.
there. But I mean, like, I want to put that job out tomorrow, like, because I
Yeah.
need to get these college kids
And-
ASAP.
And we obviously have the money to do it, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm just, my
hesitate
concern
on
is
timing.
timing.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my only
Yeah.
concern is timing. My
It's
my
gotta
concern
be
is-
competitive, and you gotta get them on the hook, or they're gonna be somewhere else.
No, my
And we
concern,
can,
my concern
yeah,
is
and
timing.
I can make it work without moving it right now, with the understanding that we will probably have
Oh,
to
that's
move it
not a
in like 2
problem.
months.
I will, you come to me in April and say you need that money, I will sign this ticket in a minute. But I just think that if we're gonna go and tell them all this, and then flip this over and say we need 20,000 here, 43,000 here, 16, we're gonna,
Text message.
it's the messages.
Gotcha. So yeah, I can back all the hourly ones out of the transfer.
Yeah.
I do want to keep the 30,000 into the capital outlay, along with that 16,000 addition from the grant reimbursement. My intent is to pursue the playground, and that was the money I was going to start seeding that with.
Is that what the 30,000's for?
Yeah, that's for other equipment. 14,000 was for hourly.
So the 30,000 is for
Sunset Hill Playground.
Sunset Hills Playground.
And then so is the
Capital outlay.
16,000 addition.
All right. Because I have to sign this thing somewhere.
Yeah, so I can back out all of the ones related to hourly, just knowing that in a couple months, since we've got,
You X off everything you're
Yeah,
backing
I
out
can-
of here.
adjust this for you real quick.
And then we will make a motion to that effect.
It's an addition.
Those are all additional labor.
Yeah, there's that. Okay. So yeah, it cuts it down to one transfer.
Okay, everything but the first line.
Yep.
You have an additional benefit, right?
Back
This
is
one's on the
gold.
back. Okay, here you go, guys. This is what
And
we did.
everything on the back page.
Yeah.
Just kept. the
Yeah,
top.
because those are the additions, so that's for the new
Everything else
position,
back
the
up now.
grant
The additionals?
reimbursement, and then the
That's
hourly
fine-
from the
That's
county.
fine, as long as you have to be able to cover it. One of those camp counselors.
We will. We'll cover them, I'll cover them in April. I just,
Because I don't want, I just worry.
note to self, April, you come back here with all this.
We will, yes.
Yeah, pre-write this and
You're marking
date it
somewhere,
April, and we'll
so-
take care of it. So, all right, now, I will have to entertain a motion to, and this is, we're gonna transfer funds from 1179, no,
From 39,800 to 45,400.
400.
Yep.
And then the additional appropriations.
Yep.
Well, someone do this, because I can't.
I make a motion that we accept the amended addition, appropriation, transfers of funds as presented to us by Jake.
I'll second that motion.
Second?
Got it.
All right, Jake,
All right. Craig Kenworthy,
I just went through all it. Yes.
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Kyle English,
Yes.
Robert Durant,
Yes?
Tony Downing.
Yes.
And it's Jake. Yeah. He's gonna need that one.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I gotta turn in.
That's the one you need. The one I signed, that's the one he needs.
Need a motion to split these. We need a motion to split
We
these.
really didn't talk about these position descriptions, I know that.
Yeah, do you guys wanna review those real quickly?
The only thing I saw, Jake, that I probably would change, just in reviewing, where it says, you're talking about duties at the very end, it says perform related duties as assigned.
Yeah, I believe I need to add that to the horticulturalist one.
You need to,
That's in-
probably,
that's in
as
the
who is
whole-
assigned by.
Okay.
Perform.
Assigned by.
Perform other duties as assigned by superintendent.
Superintendent or designee.
Yeah, or designated, or direct supervisor. It's a great end-all in case somebody doesn't want to do what you want them to do. You sign this, and guess what?
You're doing it.
Go clean the toilets. I signed one of those. I'll kill myself for signing this. I'm down in a hole one day and work on it. Get down to school, and I was covered in mud, and he's like, remember that clause about other duties assigned by the superintendent? Yeah, I got you, dude. So, other than that, does anybody have any issues with the
Nope.
maintenance horticulturalist descriptions?
Nope.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Vote? Discussion? Discussion first? All right, we're moving right along. Vote, please.
Craig Kenworthy,
Yes?
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Kyle English,
Yes.
Robert Durant,
Yes.
Tony Downing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Got a headache.
Now, where are we? I think that was all I
I
had.
think we got through it, Jake.
I think that was, yeah, I think that was everything.
I think we muddled, thank you, everybody, for your patience. We muddled our way through that one. Okay. But that ends your report, correct?
Yes.
I don't see any tractor drivers. You? I do see the railroad people. Hello.
Thank you for your
Welcome back.
patience.
Yes, welcome. Yes, that is the mundane part of government, I guess, so.
Well, we're starting our planning for the year. And right now, we're just doing our board meetings and we've got a couple issues we really want to work on this year.
Okay.
And one being the fence, it's getting closer.
Oh, wonderful. How far are you from it?
Over halfway.
Okay.
We are,
Good.
we have 7,500 put together, got 2 quotes right now. Want to get a third. We're looking at a difference right now of between, say, 5,700 to 6,300 that we need. So, like Karen said, we're over half.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you for your perseverance.
And we're pursuing, trying to get committed grants,
Okay,
first from where I work at NIPSCO.
okay.
And through the Porter County Tourism Bureau.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
good
that's where we're
thought.
starting.
Okay.
We will be talking to Jake in the future about our water situation. We gotta figure something out with that this year.
Okay. Well, we gotta get you some water some way. You want potable water, don't you? You want water you can drink?
Potable.
No,
No, you just need well?
we just need water.
Water.
You know,
Okay.
it's for the pond.
Pond water? You don't want pond water.
No.
It's
For their
It's
pond.
for our pond.
Oh, the water for the pond.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we need, is
Oh.
to, when it's, during the summer, we lose water level in our pond.
Okay.
And we used to go down to the pump. We don't have the availability to cart the big white tank down there right now to fill it up and come back and fill the pond.
That was Dave's trailer, so.
We have pumped from the pond, but that did not work well. It's too great a distance. It's uphill.
Yeah, no.
And we are gonna, that's one of the things we want to talk to Jake about, see if we can figure something out on a regular basis to get some help to get.
You guys have a tote?
Pardon?
You guys just had a tanker, you don't have like a big plastic tote or anything?
We've got a big, giant
Plastic?
plastic tank out there.
But but Dave was pulling it with his
We
trailer
have a
and.
trailer.
Right.
They gotta get it. be able
Do we
to
have
wait.
forklifts for our Kubota?
The Kubota, no, we do have a John Deere though.
Is that forklift?
We have a way to move their tank.
If we
And
fill the
that's-
tank,
and
we-
that's what we want to meet with Jake.
Perfect.
Work this out.
Okay, please work that out.
Yeah, we can
Thank
get
you.
it
Yeah,
figured out,
that's
yeah.
just one of the things.
All right.
And I just want to make a quick comment that I think the direction that Jake is going with splitting maintenance and horticulture is absolutely the way to go. I feel that we are losing the proper appearance and maintenance of our plants. I see it out there at Sunset Hill. I can't speak for any of the other parks, but I see it out there, as well as the maintenance guys are committed in too many directions. You know, there's just not enough to do that. I know I have used Nat myself for horticulture information because we want to stay within the guidelines of what's right for the park, a native, setting here. And I feel that the park is losing some of that. So I think this is the right direction to go, and
Okay,
we want to be an active part of that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Agreed.
What is your name for the record? I'm just kidding. Public comment. Tom, are you here on behalf of the foundation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, board members. I'm Tom Sanders. I'm the previous chairman of the Board County Parks Foundation. Sharon sends her apologies. She had another commitment tonight, so she sent in Plan B. So she has some bullet points she wanted to cover. Number one, I want to thank Jake for getting the 5-year master plan sent off. That's great. Once that gets approved and the state opens their bank to us,
Coffers.
then we can start planning, getting some extra funding. Projects that we're planning on initially, until a 5-year plan is actually through, we have to get, we're starting to move forward on the amphitheater. We want to have a better amphitheater project up there at Sunset Hill. The playground, that's another thing that we're going to pursue. And then finally, after a lot of tribulation, we did get the Anderson grant for $10,000. So that has come through, and at least that gets us a step forward. But again, when it comes to the 5-year plan, once we have that, then we can start creating a menu to go to benefactors. And here's what we need to have done. You can allot your funding to go to these specific items that we have on a menu, and those are directly on the 5-year. Any questions? And just in case,
How's that new grandbaby?
he's doing well.
All right.
We are in support of you guys, okay, and the Parks Department. That's our goal. And that's what we plan to do. So please, we have Carl is joining us on our committee for exploring the amphitheater. We've got a lot of information already about that. We would probably want to debrief you all about what we, in the process, sometime down the pike. Carl will certainly help make that happen. Again, any questions?
Thank you.
No, appreciate your help. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Well, anybody else? Public comment? All right, well, that brings the end of our February meeting. We'll see you all in March.
24 days.
Sorry for keeping everybody so long. It was,
They'll never coming back.
My husband's traveling
March
today.
2nd.
So Cooper
March
said,
2nd.
"Dinner for
I think it's the second.
So he's cooking, I'm like, I hope I have a house.
Isn't that gonna be nice to get one of those?
Yeah, we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and that's why I came straight here.
Greg, do you
All
want
right,
me
so
to
with our naming, you want to get a hold of Valpo, get a hold of Portage, or how do you want to do that? Because they're going to chair that one. Chairing budget, you're going to chair land use and acquisition.
Yeah.